Hi guys, so in this video I'm going to show you how to actually paint these realistic looking juicy lips by just using one brush, and I'm going to be using a watercolor brush, but I have actually used just one brush throughout the video, throughout the whole process. I'm gonna try my best to actually divide the whole video into steps so that it's easy for you to understand and also it's easy for you to follow along if you want to. But yeah, let's just get started. Alright guys, so the first step is to add your paper texture. I will be linking this down in the description box, but you have to change the layer mode to multiply and reduce the opacity to whatever you like. I changed mine to 54%. The brush we're using is Wet Frayed Bristles, and this brush is from the brush pack called Artist. I really like this brush. It's an amazing watercolor brush, so we'll be using this brush throughout the process. And I started with picking up the skin color. I started adding it around the mouth, over the mouth, just to have a real good base. So if you're painting a portrait, make sure you're adding the skin color over the lips as well. All right, this is gonna act as a really good base for the whole lip painting. Once you're done with that, pick up this color and start adding it on the lips. This is going to be our lip color, but again, this is going to act as a base lip color. So you want to make sure that you're painting it in a way where you have nice pigmentation onto the lips, because we are using this brush, which is this watercolor brush, which has this amazing pressure control, by which I mean when you put less pressure onto the screen, you're gonna get less pigmentation. When you put more pressure onto the screen, you're gonna get more pigmentation, right? So what you want to make sure, as it's not looking very highly pigmented right now, I had to go back and go over the color I already placed just to make sure that the lips are nicely pigmented, because that's what we want for a good base. Once you're ready with a good base, pick up a darker version of the skin color and place it right underneath the bottom lip to create this shadow, to just make the lips look that much more pouty. All right, and after that, pick up a color which is even more darker than the previous color, but make sure that you're decreasing the size of the brush to place this color, because it needs to be really close to the bottom lip. All right, so that's what I did. Then once I was happy with the shadow, I picked up the same color. I'm using the same color and I'm gonna add some shadows on the lips. Because this color has this grayish tone to it, I am using this color on the lips because for it to look realistic, it needs to have a good balance between warm shadows and cool toned shadows. So if you are following along, just place these shadows in the exact same place I am placing these in my video. So in the end, I will be dividing the whole video into timestamps. You can just take a screenshot of this process, of this specific process, and then use it as reference so that you can just place the colors exactly where I have placed the colors, if that makes any sense. Now I'm picking up this red color, and again I'm adding this color in a way where it's not looking perfect at all right now, because we are going to be blending those out later on, so don't worry about it. I was using a reference at the time. I was looking at a reference at a time. So what I feel is realistic art is really easy, because what you're doing is you are really just looking at a reference and you're exactly copying it. Yes, it does take a little bit of figuring it out as to okay, how do I get this kind of shadow? How do I get this kind of highlight or this kind of shade and whatnot? But it's still really easy. Once you really just break a painting down in your mind, then it becomes really easy to actually recreate it just by looking at a reference. All right. So yeah, I mean, I was just looking at the reference and I was placing these colors, and you do the same. You don't have to look at the reference. You can just follow along and look how I broke this whole painting down to build it up, and you can just follow along in that manner. I also added these little lines on the lips and they looked really messy, but later on when I blended those out, they looked real good. They looked really realistic. So it's looking messy, but just don't worry, just trust the process. Once I was done with that, I was using the same color, maybe a darker version of the color, and I added it around the mouth and around the whole mouth area, because I don't know, it just looked good. And also I was looking at the reference, that was one of the reason. But I actually do the same thing whenever I'm painting a portrait. I always make sure that I'm adding a little bit of lip color around the mouth over the skin area, because it just looks that the lips are the part of the face, okay, as if they are, I don't know how to explain this, but they look that they belong here, if that makes any sense. So that's what I'm doing. Again, really light-handed, because we don't really want a lot of pigmentation here. Now I'm gonna paint the teeth area. For that, I first made sure I erased any parts which were coming over this teeth area. Then I picked up this almost black color and I just started adding this color on the sides where both lips are intersecting each other, just to create a shadow. Now right now it is looking crazy, but it looked real good in the end. Also, when we paint realistically, there are gonna be times where you're gonna have to use black color, all right? So that's why I've chosen this color, because I saw it in the painting that it had really deep looking shadows. So that's what I'm doing right here. Again, I'm not being perfect about it, right? So once I was happy with that, I changed the brush from standard to colorless. So you can do that, all right? So I'm using the same brush, but I'm using it as a colorless brush, and it's right there on the settings, as you guys can see right here. Then I changed it back to standard and I added more black color, and yeah, that's what I did. So again, if you're using the same brush, why? Because it has this watery texture. That's what we want. You don't want to use the regular colorless brush to blend things out, and you also don't want to use a smudge brush. I will link a video where I actually discuss the difference between smudge brush and colorless brush. You should definitely go ahead and watch that video. But yeah, that's what I did. We're using the same brush to keep the texture alive as a standard brush and as a colorless brush. And use the same black color for these little mouth lines. I don't even know what you call those, but right between the mouth, just to create depth on the lips. But yeah, it's really easy. It's looking crazy, but when it comes to painting realistic stuff, it's all about trusting the process. Once you're happy with that, pick up this red color once again and just darken it up a little bit. Pick up a darker version of this color, and I'm just gonna be adding it right over where we created this mouth lines. I don't know what to call it again, but the line where both lips are intersecting each other or meeting each other. We are gonna add this color right there just to create this illusion that the black color is actually blending itself out in this maroonish color, or turn itself into this dark maroonish color, so that it looks that it's a part of the lip. I'm just trying my best to explain you guys, but I hope you guys understand. That's what we're gonna do wherever we have this black line going on right in the middle of the mouth. Once you're happy with everything, change your brush to a colorless brush. Make sure that the opacity is really low for this. Please make sure that you're doing that. And now we're gonna go over every shadow we have created onto the lips, all right, really lightly, because we don't want to wash it all out. We are just blending the harsh edges right here. Also do the same thing around the mouth for the shadows right at the bottom of the lip, around the lip, and everything else around that. Just make sure you're just going over the edges of the color and you're not washing it all out. As you guys can see, it's already looking so good. They're already looking so juicy. You can just skip everything and you're done if you don't want a glossy lip. But yeah, you see how easy that was? Now after blending, I just pick up this color and I started adding it again wherever I added it before. But this time around, you really want to make sure you're adding it in a way where you don't really need to blend it later. That's how we do it. We build the colors up. But this time you want to make sure you're placing it in a way where you don't need to blend it later, right? So again, really light-handed. We are placing it really lightly. Now I'm picking up this red color and just darkening it up a little bit and just going over the shadows we just created with this grayish tone shadow. We're going over those shadows with this color just to add some warmth to the shadow, if that makes any sense, because right now it's just looking very dull. So that's what we're doing right here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and pick up the black color from the palette and just gonna go over the teeth area once again just to define the shadows even more, because we blended the initial shadows that we placed and now we're just building over the shadows that we have already created. Once you're happy with that, pick up the red color once again and lightly paint all over the lips. When I say all over the lips, I don't mean that we want a lot of pigmentation of this color. No, we're just lightly touching onto the screen just to get that red color back onto the lips. All right, so as you guys can see, it is all looking good. It's just looks really good altogether, right? It's just a process of building colors up slowly. All right, so it's already looking good, but I still felt that the teeth area lagged some definition, and the area where the lips are meeting each other, where we have this black line going on, lagged some depth. So I again picked up the black color. I was really light-handed with this color onto the screen just because I wanted less pigmentation, but I also wanted something around that area so that it does not look out of place, even though it does not look out of place now that I'm looking at it. But when I was painting it, it just looked out of place. So that's what I did right here. Again, it's not confusing. Just pick black color and add this color really lightly wherever you have placed that black color, really lightly, so that we're not getting a lot of pigmentation out of this color. I also use the same color to just lightly line the whole lips on the cupid's bow and right on the bottom lips. Now comes the favorite part, which is highlighting. So for that, I'm using white color, of course. If you are going for a glossy look, I started adding it on the teeth. Again, I was looking at the reference the whole time. So I'm placing this color in the exact same manner it is placed on the reference. All right, so if you are following along, again, you can take a screenshot in the end to make sure you're placing the highlights in a right manner. But it's really easy. Again, we're using the same brush. Wherever the highlight looks really light, make sure you're light with your hands. And wherever the highlight looks really pigmented, make sure you're putting a lot of pressure onto the screen. But also make sure you're actually placing it in the exact same shape you are seeing it on the reference. Okay, that's what you want to do. There's nothing much to explain when it comes to adding highlights. And the glossy, juicy, realistic lip art is complete. I hope this video helped. Please give it a try. Why? Because you're gonna learn a lot from this. If you actually sit down and draw this, you're gonna learn a lot of things from it, which you can incorporate in your painting process. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, give this video a big thumbs up. If you do end up creating this realistic lip art, do tag me on Instagram. I would love to see that. But other than that, I will see you guys in my next video.